Black and Asian perspective.
Let's talk about the festivals. I've gone to the Japanese Cherry Blossom Festival, which is in its 46th year, and then Sunjata had their 42nd year, and then the Asian Pacific Heritage Month they had theirs. So when I go to these events, I want to hear about that particular. If I'm going to the Cherry Blossom, I want to learn about Japanese American culture, Japanese or Japanese American culture.
Mhm.
And what's pretty annoying to me is when they have performers that are not Japanese or Japanese American. And and I don't like it.
Well,
So
what are they performing? Are they performing like Japanese music, or are they just arbitrarily just non-Japanese performing whatever they want?
yeah, you know what? Let me give you a better example. So at the Asian Pacific Heritage Month, um, so there's a lot of cultures there. And so there's this K-pop group from the University of Washington.
Mm.
And there's like 20 youth, 20 something year olds out there. And I think that's great that they're inclusive, let anybody in, but let's not put the white woman center front. Um,
Mm.
and I don't, is she the best? I don't know. I was just so annoyed that she was in the center. She's taller and she's white.
Mm.
And so, as people watching, oh, well, she's the best. See, white people are superior. I mean,
Mm.
I I want to see K-pop with Koreans really, but Asians okay. But it's like if you want to be inclusive, yes, be inclusive, but don't put them in the center. Like there's only 2 rows, back row. I I just think that's such a disservice. And at Juneteenth, there were 3 rappers. They were kind of all together. The Latinx guy was talking, and then the white guy, started off the rap and was flanked by the Black and Latinx. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why? Why are we seeing a white rapper right now? We're at Sunjata, which is Black Arts Festival, is
Mhm.
Black Arts Festival, and white guy in the center, and he's doing his whole song. And then they rotated through. I don't appreciate like centering the white person at these meant to be marginalized community
Mm.
like celebrations. I think you can be inclusive, but without putting the white person in the center.
Mm.
I don't know, that really it's just really irritating to me. And then right after that, there's this super vanilla white guy from the South though, and he's representing this kind of a youth group. I don't know if it's religious or not, or rappers, and there was maybe eight folks there. And I think one girl was black. Maybe there are a couple of minorities, I'm not sure. But then he did his rap, his white rap,
Mm.
and it was not good. And it's just like, why? It's one thing if you're really good, but also if you are really good at no, like this is not. I want to see more black than white. This
Mhm.
I don't know. Does that bug you? It just really bugs me.
Well, recently, mainly because there haven't been any live events because we've been so locked down. I'm just trying to go back into the past. I've Usually what I've seen is a better blending where the person of color is featured and there is some inclusivity, but it's like seeing like a musical group. Like I remember one guy I used to hire, he's the lead performer, he's black, he plays keyboards, sings, he's got a drummer who's black, a bass player who's black, and his guitarist is white, and the guy's a good guitarist. So
Yeah.
he's contributing,
Yeah.
but obviously it's the black people that are being featured. So I agree with that. I think that you can be inclusive. My question would be, because you don't know the group and don't know what the dynamics are, I would have been interested to know, why was the person positioned like that? What was behind that? Did the person start the group? Did the group decide, oh, we've got to make sure that the white, I mean, so I don't know what the motivation was. So I would have to, before I came to any conclusion necessarily, I do have a problem though, like when I feel that people who are, let's just say white, but they want to appropriate for like a day, and they go, "Oh, we want to honor indigenous people. So we're going to dress up in the indigenous and we're going to do this dance and da 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 da. And then we're not going to think about them until next year when we do the same thing. I think there's got what I'm really interested in too is what kind of commitment and investment do you have in promoting diversity? Is it just that you come out here once a year and decide to do this because it's fun, or are you really down for the cause, so to speak? That's what I'd really be interested in, because I've known like this to me speaks to music, the broader music industry. I mean, I'm a big fan of the blues, for instance. And there's a lot of Black blues singers and performers that never got their due. And there's a lot of white blues singers that were a lot more popular because of racism, basically. Now, I do know some I know many white blues performers who that's the music they love, and they have gone out of their way to really support Black musicians, and they're down for the cause. But there's others that say, hey, I can make some money doing this. I'm just going to do it. So I'd be interested in the motivation. But yes, I would probably be a little irritated.
I'm beyond irritated, and it was just at least both white guys, they weren't trying to, I think like his name was Frank. You know, there was Rizzy Ray and Little Fax Machine was the Black guy. So at least Frank wasn't trying to be, I'm Frankie, Frank from, you know, Big Frank Dog or something. Like, and he had like normal, like white clothing. He wasn't trying to be all Black.
Well, I mean, you know, it might have been just been a sincere, I think a lot of people will make mistakes or things will come off badly, but it's not intentional. But
No,
again, I think
yes.
but what's the motivation? So, but the outcome is the same. And that's what's really important. Optically, you're sitting there going, wait a minute, what is this supposed to be?
There
Cherry
weren't any
Blossom
Black
Festival?
rappers.
Yeah.
Like they're in Seattle. There weren't any that
Yeah,
wanted to be on the stage. Really?
that's hard to believe.
Yeah. And so that, and all cultures are, and let's speak to the Japanese and the Asian, the two festivals that I went to. Of course, they're, you know, Japanese, and I'm part of both of them, so polite. So of course, like the taiko drums and everything, let's be inclusive. There are a lot of people who are not white. I hope you still attract Japanese there, because otherwise it's kind of losing. It's like, I'm not going to eat at a sushi place if I don't see Japanese faces. Now, I know that a lot of Mexicans are in the back, and there are stories about, well, let's see. Anyways, that's an NPR story, but talking about sushi chefs. But otherwise, Mexicans, okay. Like if I want to see a Japanese chef, like the main chef, and if it's an Asian place, I don't want to see Koreans doing teriyaki. I mean, I don't really eat teriyaki, I don't like it so much, but it's like, you know, be authentic. So back to Asians, Japanese are gonna definitely let the white person be in the front. It's just a polite thing to do. Like that's what you do. Like you make
Well,
sure
I don't
everybody.
know. Without knowing them, I don't think, I mean, me personally, I can't come to some conclusion that's really definitive about it. But I do think that I've seen the priorities get a little messed up in some of these things, in terms of, oh, well, we want this person to do this, or sometimes it's who's planning it, they're not thinking it out, or they don't have enough people of color on the planning committee. I mean, there's all kinds of variables, I think, that contribute to why something happens the way it does. And that's what really, I think when you're planning an event, you have to really be diligent about optics, about your goal, about the fact that there's also an imbalance when it comes to, in this country, performers of color don't get the same breaks all the time. They don't get the same exposure. I mean, I think it's kind of funny sometimes when I see so many TV shows that have obviously spent a lot of time handpicking diversity. You know, I watch a lot of TV, and you'll see, okay, we've got one Black person, you know, two Asians, you know, three white people, an old guy, and a gay person. You know, it's very, very contrived almost. And I'm thinking, well, what if that whole show was all Black or all Asian? are all gay. I mean, I guess there are some that lean that one way or another. But I'm just thinking, I have to think that they're worried about engaging their audience,
Well, I think ratings. Well,
ratings, their
who's gonna
audience, who's
watch
going to come.
Asians
So
or who's
that's
gonna
that's what goes in, what I'm saying, into the planning part of it. It's like, okay, well, we want to make sure that there's a big diverse group of people that come to see us. So therefore, let's make sure that we have certain white people featured in these certain numbers. Sometimes that can happen, I think.
Well, I think with the Asian groups, it's just politeness. It's we want to be inclusive, and yeah, we don't mind being in the back. We're always in the back, you know.
Well,
It- So
that's
so
unfortunate, I think.
yeah, so I think for the Asians, it's more about talking. It's like having some white anti-racists in the group. Like if there are people in Asian allies, like on like some of these Asian communities, say like, well, mm, be inclusive, but let's not center the white person, because I think it would take um, sometimes other people to point that out. And it's more about, I think I want to not write, probably do another article or something about that, talking specifically to Asians. Hey, this is your thing, be inclusive, but even if that white or black person was the best, don't care. In the back, this
Don't
is
care in the
your
back. We
right.
don't care.
Because
They're
it's
in the
just
back.
like it's just showing that you're not good. Yeah, white is more superior. That's the way it goes. So, it's just it's so the more each event I go to, I'm like, it's really grating on me.
Well, it's kind of interesting because it reminds me of sometimes when I've heard white people complain about reverse racism. Sometimes it's like, well, if you're not going to include me, you're being racist. Even though you can go to movies, you can go to performances, you can hear music that's predominant. I mean, I've gone to movies where I don't see anybody of color even in the movie, period. And I'm thinking, now when they were casting the movie, why couldn't it have been a person of color who played certain roles?
Yeah.
I see that a lot. I mean, now there's certain roles that if they're historical in nature, then I would think you would want the race of the person to match up with whoever the
Yeah.
historical person is. But so often these roles are people from various cultures could play the roles. So why is it that they gravitate toward, white people? Unless in the movies, and if you're Denzel Washington or you're Morgan Freeman or any number, there's probably 5 or 6 really top black actors that have their pick of what they want to do. Like The
Yeah.
Equalizer. The
Yeah.
Equalizer was originally white. Now they've got Queen Latifah as the female version. They've had Denzel Washington. So it can be done, but those
Yeah.
two are really big stars.
Yeah.